Have you ever looked at your life, really looked, and felt like there's a pattern repeating? Maybe it's a struggle that just keeps coming back. Or sometimes, those moments of serendipity. The ones that feel almost too perfect to be just random chance can feel like there's this hidden current sort of shaping things, but you can't quite nail down what it is. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're exploring a really fundamental law, one that's quietly everywhere, often hitting right in front of us. It has a few names: correspondence, alignment. Some just call it the living law. But we'll mostly refer to it today as the universal principle of reflection. And what we want to do really is unpack this ancient idea, look at where it comes from, what it truly means, and maybe most importantly, figure out some practical ways you can actually use it right now in your life. We're drawing heavily from some fascinating research, particularly a source called the Universal Principle of Reflection, the ancient law behind reality, and the core idea. Well, maybe by the end you'll see that life wasn't so random after all. That maybe, just maybe, you've been orchestrating it all along through this silent working law. Okay, so let's get into it. This core concept, it often gets boiled down to that famous phrase, as above, so below, as within, so without. Sounds quite mystical, doesn't it? Almost poetic. But is it actually like a real universal law? What's the thinking behind its fundamental nature?
That's a great place to start because you're right. It sounds poetic, but this isn't just a nice saying or some modern self-help idea. What's really striking is how old this principle is. We're talking origins that go way back, long before the big empires, before organized religion as we know it, maybe even before written language in some forms. The ancients, they didn't just, stumble on this. They saw it as a fundamental law of how things work. And they often use symbols to communicate it because words maybe couldn't capture the whole thing. Think about ancient Egypt. The priests there, in places like Heliopolis, they had this understanding that the cosmos wasn't just out there. It was deeply connected to an inner reality, something reflected outwards.
Interesting. So it wasn't just Egypt.
Oh no, not at all. This thread is global. Look at India. The Upanishads talk about Raita. That's this idea of a cosmic order, a rightness that connects the individual person, you, to the entire universe. Then you go to China, and it emerges as the Tao, that unspoken sort of intelligent flow behind absolutely everything. Even in ancient Sumer, texts like the Enuma Elish describe a kind of sacred pattern binding everything together. Even the gods had to operate within it. And then, Greece. Hermetic philosophy really crystallized it with that principle of correspondence, as above, so below. So you see all these different cultures, different times, they're all holding fragments of what seems to be the same core truth. They're all pointing towards this law of reflection, this idea of inner causality, which basically means reality isn't just happening to us, it's happening through us, deeply, undeniably.
That's fascinating how widespread it was. It really makes you wonder, though, if it's so fundamental, why isn't it just common knowledge today? Why don't we all learn this in school? What happened? Did we just forget that?
Well, the sources suggest it wasn't entirely accidental forgetting. There's a historical angle here. As these large empires started rising and consolidating power, this kind of deep knowledge, the understanding of individual inner power, your creative potential, well, that's started to look like a threat to control.
Okay. Knowledge is power, and some didn't want everyone to have it.
Exactly. So over centuries, this wisdom often got pushed aside, got obscured, sometimes very deliberately. You had mystery schools, places where this was taught directly being disbanded. You had important texts burned. You had powerful symbols, which were keys to this understanding, being demonized, twisted to mean something negative.
Right. Cut people off from the source.
Pretty much. It effectively severed that direct connection for many people. And what often got left behind was, well, a sort of watered-down spirituality or morality. It lost its depth, its mystery, its real creative punch. You even see echoes today, don't you? The core of this law gets kind of diluted into, like, shallow self-help slogans.
Yeah, like just think positive.
Or those oversimplified manifestation tricks that completely miss the depth and frankly, the responsibility that comes with it. It's like getting a bad photocopy of a masterpiece. The outline's there, but the essence is gone. But the good news is that pure current, the original teaching, it didn't vanish. It's still flowing, just maybe quieter beneath the surface, waiting for people ready to tune back in.
Okay, so let's dive into how it actually works. The source uses this great analogy. Think of your whole life as a mirror, just a giant mirror. Everything you experience, relationships, job stuff, challenges, even tiny little daily things. They're not random, they're reflections, projections of your inner world bouncing right back at you. But it's more than just You get what you think about, right? It feels deeper than just conscious thoughts.
Oh, absolutely, much deeper. The universe, according to this principle, isn't just responding to your conscious wishes or affirmations, those play a part. It's responding to what the source calls your dominant energetic pattern.
Dominant energetic pattern. Okay, what does that mean?
It's the sum total of your inner landscape. Your subconscious programs, those beliefs you picked up as a kid, your deep-seated emotional blueprints, how you typically feel about things like safety, love, abundance, your core vibrations. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a tuning fork. Reality, the universe, can only resonate with the specific frequency you're vibrating at.
Okay.
So, for instance, you might consciously desire, let's say, abundance. You might say, I want more money all day long. But if your inner landscape, your dominant pattern, is actually shaped by old feelings of scarcity or maybe a core belief that you're not worthy of success, well, the universe responds to that frequency, the deeper signal, not just the wish on the surface.
That makes sense. It's the underlying feeling, the belief you embody.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really fascinating. This ancient wisdom, it lines up almost uncannily, intuitively with some ideas in modern science.
Like quantum physics.
Exactly. Quantum physics suggests that the observer affects the observed, that consciousness interacts with potentiality to collapse it into a specific reality. The ancients understood this intuitively. They used tools like ritual, meditation, sacred geometry, not as superstition, but as ways to consciously align their inner world, to tune their observation, their energetic state. They knew that by doing that, they could influence the outer world, shape the reflection they received. The universe, in this view, is like a vast, neutral echo chamber. It just reflects back whatever signal you're putting out. No judgment, just reflection.
So this really changes how you look at repeating patterns, doesn't it? Like if you keep finding yourself in the same kind of difficult relationship or hitting the same career roadblocks,
It's not fate. It's not bad luck.
it's resonance.
It's resonance. You're broadcasting a signal, probably unconsciously, that keeps attracting that same reflection.
But the flip side is incredibly powerful if you can change the internal signal.
The reflection has to change. It's law. The outer structure, your reality, will eventually conform to your new inner architecture. It has no choice.
Okay, but here's the tricky part you mentioned earlier. Most of what we broadcast, that signal, it's invisible to us, right? Is all that deep conditioning, maybe past trauma, stuff we inherited, cultural programming?
Absolutely. These are the unseen architects building our inner world and therefore our outer reality.
So how does this universal law handle all that hidden, unconscious stuff?
Right. And that leads us into what the source calls the sacred paradox, which is this idea that you are simultaneously the dreamer and the dream. You're woven into reality, not separate from it. And to really get our heads around that, we need to look at a few key principles that are all kind of interwoven.
Okay.
First up is polarity, this idea that everything has an opposite, right? Light, dark, expansion, contraction.
Huh.
But the really crucial insight from, say, Hermetic teachings isn't just that they're opposites, it's that they're actually two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Expressions of the same core essence, just at different degrees, different ends of the spectrum.
Like hot and cold are both temperature.
Exactly. So what does this mean for you in your life? It means your pain holds the potential for your healing. Your fear contains the seed of your power. Your shadows, the parts you don't like, actually contain hidden light, hidden gifts. So a challenge, seen through this lens, isn't something the law is meant to just magically erase. It's actually a doorway, an opportunity for transformation. If you just resist the negative pull, you often just feed it energy. But if you can face it, bring awareness to it, integrate it, that's when you transmute it. That's real alchemy.
Okay, that's a big shift in perspective. What's next?
The second principle is embodiment over desire. This is huge. The law responds to what you truly embody, energetically, not just what you say you want or desire. Desire without embodiment. It's basically just noise in the field. It doesn't carry a clear signal.
So affirmations alone aren't enough.
Not if they aren't backed by a shift in your actual state of being. Think about those ancient mystics again. The rituals weren't about begging external forces. They used ritual to entrain their own energy, to practice feeling, breathing, moving, being in the state they wish to align with. They embodied it.
Can you give an example?
Sure, you don't really manifest wealth by just wishing for money while feeling broke and scared inside. You work on healing that inner sense of scarcity. You cultivate feelings of resourcefulness, gratitude, wholeness first. You embody abundance or love. You don't find lasting love by desperately needing it from someone else. You cultivate deep self-acceptance, self-intimacy first. You become the love you seek, so it overflows naturally rather than being a constant yearning. Embodiment is key.
Right. Embody the state first. Okay, what's the third principle?
Third, and this often trips people up, the field reflects, not judges. This law is absolutely completely neutral, like a mirror. It doesn't reward you for being good or punish you for being bad. It simply mechanically mirrors back your dominant energetic pattern, period.
That helps address that difficult question. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Exactly. From this perspective, it's often because even really well-meaning people might be carrying totally unconsciously unresolved wounds, maybe deep guilt, maybe layers of fear from past experiences. And those things are broadcasting into the field, creating reflections, even if the person consciously intends only good. It's not about blame, not at all. It's about awareness. Your inner world is like a signal tower. Until you consciously tune that station, you're likely to keep getting the same broadcast reflected back, regardless of your conscious intentions.
Okay, neutral reflection. And the last principle.
The last one ties it all together. You are co-architects of reality. You're not just a pawn subject to this law. You are an active, conscious co-architect. Consciousness itself, the universe's awareness, is actually evolving through you, through your experiences and your growing awareness of this process. The more you wake up to this law, the more you start noticing the subtle patterns, the synchronicities, the invisible threads connecting everything.
Like waking up in a dream.
Precisely. It's like becoming lucid in a dream and realizing, wait a minute, I can influence this landscape by shifting my inner state. Now, there's a little caution here from the source material. The ego, our sense of separate self, might try to hijack this knowledge. It might try to use it to manipulate reality for purely selfish gain.
Which won't work.
Well, manipulation usually comes from a place of fear of lack, fear of not having control. And fear, remember, broadcasts distortion and muddies the signal. True mastery isn't about forceful control. It's actually about surrender. But not surrender to helplessness. It's surrender to alignment, living in such deep coherence with your own soul, with the flow of life, that reality stops feeling like resistance. Because it recognizes you. It sees you're working with the current, not against it.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to take in. Powerful ideas, but maybe a bit challenging too. So let's bring this down to earth. What does this actually mean for you listening right now in your day-to-day life? How do we move from understanding the theory to actually living it? It sounds like it really comes down to calibrating our inner world consistently, not just believing this stuff, but practicing it.
Exactly. Practice is everything.
Yeah.
Belief is just the starting point.
So where do we start? What's a practical first step?
Okay, let's get practical. First, try a daily reflection ritual. Just simple, conscious observation. Each morning, maybe before you even get out of bed or grab your phone, just sit quietly for a couple of minutes and ask yourself honestly, what energy am I broadcasting right now? What does my current feeling state, my mood, tell the universe about what I expect to receive today?
Just noticing the signal.
Exactly. Maybe even jot it down. No judgment, just notice. This simple act starts to reclaim your authority. You begin to see your inner world not as something that just happens to you, but something you can observe and eventually shift.
Okay, daily check-in. What else?
Second, practice energetic state work. The key here is shift first, act later. This is really crucial. Before you take a significant action, maybe sending that important email, making a call you're nervous about, starting work on a big goal, just pause. Take a breath. Tune in. Ask yourself, am I about to act from fear or from fullness, from a feeling of lack or a feeling of clarity and resourcefulness?
And if it's fear or lack?
Don't act just yet if you can help it. Take a moment. Use whatever works for you. Deep breathing. Maybe shake out the tension, put on some music that lifts you, do a quick visualization of the desired outcome feeling. Shift your internal frequency first. Because the ancients were right. The outer action is only ever as powerful as the inner energy that fuels it.
It's like trying to paint a masterpiece with muddy water. The intention might be good, but the result...
Exactly. Clean the water first.
Yeah.
Shift the energy first.
Makes sense. What's a third practice?
Third, integrate the mirror check. This is about decoding your reality actively. So each evening, maybe before bed, take a few minutes to review your day. But here's the twist. Don't just see it as things that happen to you. Look at it as events that happen through you, as reflections, that awkward interaction, that unexpected bit of luck, that frustrating setback. Ask, okay, mirror, what within me did this moment reveal? Where was I maybe broadcasting resistance? Where did I attract ease? What unconscious belief might have created this?
So you're actively looking for the connection.
Yes. Consistently doing this trains your mind to see life not as random punishment or reward, but as incredibly valuable feedback, neutral data from the universe about your current signal.
Okay, I like that. Seeing life as feedback. What about number 4?
Fourth, cultivate ritual alignment. Find ways to regularly anchor the vibration you want to embody. Think of these as resonance anchors. Choose one or more practices that feel good to you and do them consistently. It could be chanting a simple mantra like, I am aligned, I am the mirror, I am the source. Just feeling the vibration of the words.
Or movement.
Absolutely. Sacred movement. Maybe something flowing like Qigong or Tai Chi, or even just conscious dancing or walking, where you intentionally embody the feeling of clarity or joy or strength. Meditation with visualization is powerful too. Really seeing and feeling your desired inner state, radiating outwards, touching your world, or even journaling, but from the future. Write about your life as if you are already living from that aligned state you're cultivating.
So these aren't just feel-good exercises, they're training.
They're vibrational training.
Yeah.
They're ways to consciously tune your tuning fork to the frequency of the reality you wish to experience.
Got it. And you mentioned the subconscious being a big player. Is there a practice for that?
Yes, and this is crucial, maybe the deepest work. Number 5, deprogramming the old signal. It's essentially shadow work. We have to remember our subconscious mind is running the show most of the time. And much of its programming, its core beliefs about life, got installed before we were, say, 7 years old, from family, culture, early experiences, maybe trauma.
Stuff we didn't consciously choose.
Exactly. So you need to dedicate some time, maybe weekly, to gently trace those repetitive, unwanted patterns in your life back to their roots. Identify the inherent beliefs or conclusions you drew about yourself or the world back then. Then question them, ruthlessly. Ask, who actually told me this was true? Is it really true for me now? What if the opposite is actually more aligned with who I am today? The source puts it very simply. Repetition with emotion equals reprogramming. It's not enough to just identify the old belief.
You have to replace it.
You have to energetically install a new one, consistently and with genuine feeling. Feel the truth of the new belief. That's how you rewrite the subconscious script that the universe is reading.
Okay, that's a powerful set of tools. Are there any common mistakes people make when they start trying to live this way?
Yeah, definitely a few pitfalls to watch out for. First, trying to force outcomes. Pushing, striving, trying to control everything. Force usually comes from fear or misalignment, and the universe doesn't respond well to that tense energy. It prefers flow, coherence.
Right, less force, more alignment.
Second, watch out for spiritual bypassing. That means using these ideas to avoid feeling difficult emotions. Thinking, oh, I just need to be positive, while ignoring real pain or anger. The pain itself doesn't necessarily lower your frequency, but suppressing it, hiding from it, pretending it's not there, that creates inner conflict and definitely muddies your signal. You have to be real.
Be honest about your current state.
Exactly. And finally, be mindful of slipping into a victim mindset. Even when things feel incredibly unfair or difficult, the invitation is always there. How is the situation asking me to evolve? What inner shift is being called for here? It's not about blaming yourself, but about reclaiming your power to respond consciously. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. You don't have to be blissed out and high vibe 24/7.
Thank goodness.
Right. The goal is coherence, honesty, awareness, and the willingness to consciously choose your inner state, moment by moment, as best you can.
This really brings it all together. This ancient law, it's not asking for worship or blind faith. It's asking for, well, integrity, a coherence between what you think, what you say, what you feel deep down, and how you act. And the promise seems to be that when those things start to align, even just a little more often, life itself begins to open up. Doors appear where there seem to be only walls. Synchronicities start popping up. Reality feels less like something you have to constantly fight against.
And more like remembering something, remembering a deep truth about how things work, something you perhaps always knew on some level. It really is presented as a gift in these teachings. You are not just adrift on the waves of fate. You are the composer. It's your symphony. Reality isn't this fixed, solid thing. It's more like a fluid canvas. And your thoughts, your core beliefs, your emotions, your overall energy, those are the brushstrokes creating the picture.
And that old saying comes to mind. Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. So as you sit with all this, the real question becomes, what will you paint now? What could genuinely shift in your life if you started seeing every delay not as a problem, but as guidance? Every obstacle not as a barrier, but an invitation to look within. Every repeating pattern not as a curse, but as a clear message calling for an inner shift.
The invitation is really to look around you, right now. What reflection has life been showing you lately, honestly? What patterns are subtly, or maybe not so subtly, inviting you to remember this power you have? to remember you're the source of the signal. The call to action is simple, really. Begin to consciously tune your signal, not tomorrow, not next week, now, even in small ways. Step into alignment as best you can in this moment, and then just watch. Observe how reality begins, quietly, inevitably, to mirror your transformation.